accident.
Yours.
Welcome, everybody. It's 6 o'clock, so we get started. Mike is in a meeting with the Kennebec County Budget Committee tonight, so he's not here. First item on the agenda to consider approving the minutes from the January 25th meeting.
So moved.
All those in favor? Thank you. And now we have some guests here tonight. Do you want to say anything, Ella, before we?
The only thing I want to bring up, and I can bring this up afterwards, it's about our town meeting, but we'll just talk about it at the end of the meeting today, so don't let me forget that. Other than that, I have AJ Kane from the Buildings and Grounds Department to do his presentation and answer any questions that you may have.
Where's yours, AJ?
I hope I did this right. I did a little write-up, short and sweet, big font, so we can all read it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll pass those down if you would, Bob, just so I don't trip over some cords. Thank you. Basically, just going over the 3 questions that was presented from council. The staffing level overview. Currently, the staff we have consists of 4 full-time building and ground employees, including myself, 2 janitorial staff employees, and 1 substitute. Plans to add a full-time seasonal this coming spring to assist in groundskeeping, as I've always had in the past. Basically, someone working in the ground in the cemeteries with us, college student or something of that nature. And then we also have a part-time seasonal that will be working, cleaning the waterfront, working with the flower group and anything else that they need throughout the summer, watering, things of that nature.
We've actually hired that person.
Okay, you get someone to. Good,
Yeah,
good.
When does that person start?
Whatever you guys need her, whatever the flower committee needs her. She's a lady who lives here in town, and she's president of the Lions Club. So I'll see how that works. She was pretty excited to actually have the opportunity. I told her it's probably gonna be in May. But I've got to reach out to members of the flower committee to find out exactly what she needs to say.
Typically, they're going through and trying to clean things up. Right around the time they're doing the spring sand cleanup and stuff, so that's all.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Are you sort of not overseeing her, but you like? The flower people will be going to you, you'll say, we need somebody to come down for a couple hours. If they don't, then you'll use them to clean up other stuff.
Yeah, it was kind of a given. The first thing they do, the role was to go right to the waterfront park. We're cleaning up the mess we have from geese. That was an hour and a half daily. Then from there, they would head downtown with the watering. If there was anything else, flower group it called, I'd have them do that. But other than that, they can reach out to them directly to.
Is she gonna be doing any weed whacking?
I'm not sure who we've hired, but I'm willing to give them anything. I've got plenty of that.
No, that's just one of my, I hate to see the sidewalks, especially now.
Oh, yeah.
Overgrown and
Yep.
it's not a priority because there's so many important things, but we have this person. out.
You know, the thing is with the weed whacking, I think. It's every summer's a problem, and it takes constant attention. You know, I might be participating in that some of the summer too, but we'll get it done between all of us, you know, and I don't have an issue grabbing the weed whacker first thing in the morning. But we'll figure that out.
Is this the same person that we hired last budget period?
No, what happened with that person was we have budgeted 6 hours a day position. He was only working, I think it was 2. And it wasn't working out for him.
The same position, just the guy is not there. That's a big.
Yeah, Prudy sorry for the position. Sorry, DJ.
No, it's fine. Yes, I know. Good with that?
Yep.
Other questions was regarding special projects, Memorial Hall, we had a salary survey in April of 22. We had some notes on some sagging floors, in the wreckage room and the back storage closet, along with some water damage around one of the chimneys. back south corner of the building. Like I discussed with you, Dana reached out to some contractors and had a hard time finding them to, look at doing the jacking, but, one come in with a price of $9,300, in the time frame, he was gonna be out quite a while. The other one that I had come in, after we could remove more of the flooring so we could see more of what the framing looked like. So once we removed the more of the flooring, we decided we might as well go on this fire, might as well take it on ourselves. So we did, I think, completed both the rooms, that cost around $1,955, completed, so. Saved a couple dollars there, learned a little bit too. The chimney, we received an estimate for repairs on that at $8,200. I had a second contractor show up, looked at it, didn't think it was gonna be even nearly that much to do the repairs. Lost contact with him, reached out again, he said he'd be back in the next couple weeks to do the repairs. Reached out again, and he hadn't done the work, so. Actually, Friday, I've got a lift coming, we're gonna go up and look at it ourselves and. See if it's something, they both sent me pictures, so I see what's going on with the flashing. It doesn't look as though the roof's damaged, it looks like it's just flashing issues. So we're gonna go up, take a look at it ourselves, and see if we can do it ourselves. We're looking at about $1,100 for the materials that we bought and with the lift rental. Which we can then take care of some other projects we get going on. We need a tree that needs to come down behind Cascade Storage, so we need a lift to do that with. Do that, but that's what we stand with more on.
Yeah, that's amazing, because total of those two bills is $17,500, they're doing it for less than $4,000.
That's the hopes.
That's incredible.
The flower project group, every spring we assist them with picking up the debris that they remove from the beds in the early spring. We put out the bicycles for them, the planters. And then it's just random calls here and there for things when they swap over the flowers or if they need more mulch or things like that. Not very frequent, maybe once a week, maybe every other week. But really not a lot of calling from them, so, and Public Works helped a lot with them as well, so. Pleasant Point. The playground project we started in early September. We wrapped up things out there in early to mid-October. We currently have 12 concrete anchor pieces installed. We have 27 more to be set. Estimated 220 man hours. And we've spent approximately $4,000. The rep from the outfit that we purchased, or the unit was purchased from, told Boyd and myself that with our crew of 5, that he predicted it would take us a month with the 5 guys full time to do the job. And looking at it the way we're going, it looks like he's probably close to that. We still got quite a ways to go. I'm guessing we get about a third of the way there. If that. But to estimate completion with the concrete at 100, playground chips at around 59.20, mixer rental, and possibly, not sure, maybe another lift rental. We're looking at another 73.10 to complete it. That's not included if we have to do drainage or a perimeter fence.
How is that handling the frost? How do you think that's gonna?
To be honest, I have not been out. Also, I've gone out there and put a level on it. I really, yes. I'm hoping we did everything we could to keep it in place, but
So if the frost does move that. What's that mean?
the drawing board. I think we'd have to go back, do some excavating, just reset. Where they are, but
From the roadway, it appears that that could be a possibility, but like AJ said, short of getting a level out here, it's hard to know for sure because everything off at a distance is hard to know, you know? But you guys all saw what that looked like in the fall, where we had all those rains and all the water that sat in there.
It got messy quick, and we tried to get back out, and
Yeah,
it just. It was kind of like that, but.
What are playground chips? Is that
They're,
like bark?
yeah, it's a special blend that they are screened mix, I'll say. They've gone to that, less chance of injuries, it's kind of one of these that you have to. Play so. Can't go to Hammond Lumber and get the chips anymore that we used to. This winter, thanks to that, a lot cheaper, but.
there's actually certified playground
Yeah.
chips, Bob.
Hmm?
There's actually certified playground chips.
What are they made of?
It's still wood, but it literally looks more of a chip. It's,
Really?
yeah.
Huh, interesting.
Expensive little
Yeah,
chips.
yeah.
Jeff said it didn't have the sharp edges like a regular wood chip, a
It's-
wood chipper would have.
Right.
It's part of it, Dan, believe it or not, that absolutely is part of it.
Yeah.
How they manufacture.
When we did the playground down to the waterfront park, the first time it was really set. I got a load from Hammond Lumber, but dumped that in there, and I said, boy. We ended up getting to pick through it, and we got a load of playground chips. And the rest of it out. Yeah, it was quite suitable, so, but yeah. That's what we're looking at out there.
I was hoping to come tonight, guys, and just support AJ and his guys on this project. It's a big project. If they're estimating an 800-hour project to do. And watching those poor guys struggle to get 200 hours worth in last fall. I'm just sitting here and trying to do the math of it all in my head about when are they gonna get back out there? Come spring time, I know it's so weather dependent on when you can get out there, and then you got the whole push to get the cemeteries looking nice by Memorial Day, and then I just worry about how long is this project really gonna linger? I'm guessing everyone wants to see kids out there playing in it, and I was just kind of spitballing as what can we do to move this project along in a more, I don't know, orderly timeline fashion. I don't view playground instruction as something that can linger on, like some projects can linger. This is the type of project you want in and you want out, and then you want kids playing on it. So I didn't have any contact with Emmy O'Brien starting out. I don't know if there's any way to maybe go back to them and say, hey, how about an installer crew coming in and maybe helping the process? The work to me seems to be getting the playground equipment set. Stuff like spreading Bob's famous wood chips and, you know, we're gonna need some fencing and all that. That's maybe something that we can figure out more ways to do, but the real pain about this whole project, as I see it, it's just getting the crew to be able to stay out there and bang this thing out. It is so hard when they gotta run down to the garage and get another piece of stuff because you can't leave anything out because people steal and take, and I don't know. I just wanted to come support my boy tonight and see if there's anything we can do, put our heads together to get this thing up and going. I'm actually gonna go out on a limb saying probably the benefactor would like to see kids playing on it sooner rather than later as well. I know I would.
This is something a community day would do if they were like, you solicit a domestic contractor and say, hey, come volunteer for a day, put your name all over the board. But is it so specialized that probably wouldn't? happen?
Well, again, that stems back to this is the first one that's been installed in New England, I believe, we were told, largest one. And the tech that we were speaking with has never installed one. He's done these community builds in the past. That's a tough one. That's a tough one, Dave, because you can get a great group and you can get more work than what you, right, you know what I mean? I'm open. I'm really open to try anything. The directions on this, with the proof of it, that it's the first print. They might make some changes because it's not, we put together and then we've taken apart too many times. Yeah, the learning curve for sure, but
I don't remember how many foundations you told me when we went out and looked at it one day, but there was a lot. And I know you didn't have them all in then. I don't think you do now. do you?
No, we've got 12 set and we have, I think, 27 to complete it,
Oh,
but 27 to go.
more to go.
27 more foundations.
Yeah,
I know there was a lot. I didn't remember how many.
yeah, the first ones were the toughest because there's no way to really brace them up and you I just didn't want to see little Billy come out there and pull one of the braces and tip it off to the side.
It
It's,
seemed to me a little more complicated than putting a string set together.
Yeah, and by O'Brien's estimate, they're still 600 hours away from a skilled crew knowing what they're doing. AJ's boys are the best, it's by far the best crews that AJ's ever had. I don't know this logical to think that we can pull them away from their regular spring duties and make any substantial pace of play on this
So
project.
what do you hire your summer staff? Is that something that can fit into this?
Well, that actually is gonna-
Spring duty, so you guys can get onto this earlier?
obviously, cemetery will come first, so guess if we have a great spring. If we can get out there before the start of May, great. I don't see that happen because that normally doesn't happen, especially being that it's already in a wet hole to begin with. So if I was to guess, I'm thinking it'll be after Memorial Day before we start out there.
Just because of the ground?
Yeah, well, that and cemeteries gotta take the precedent. Because that's what we're doing, all our burials.
So is this something that we can draw in from other departments, manpower to help you out with that?
If they were able to provide the help, yeah, I don't see why we
I
couldn't.
mean, if we grab the man from just department. We could donate it to somebody like Owen or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And we start drawing it that way. I mean, Jan might be available to help you too, it's
Oh,
for
yeah.
construction.
I will. That and big
I'll give you the first ride on the slide.
You think they would provide a lead man, not,
He did offer to come up and help. He said when he was available, he would mind stopping up and lending a hand. So,
Do we still use the correctional facility
Good idea.
team? Not to do that maybe,
No,
but
but
to
the
do the
cemetery.
cemeteries that frees up your guys.
who's that?
The correctional facility. the jail.
Oh, no power tools.
Rakes. No, I'm saying,
Yeah,
they
no,
do the-
cleanup isn't the problem, it's the mowing. it's
right,
the-
if they did the cemeteries and stuff like that for the spring cleanup. then that
We don't,
makes
we,
you guys-
we're all set for that. We have them all set in the fall, so we're ready. Come spring when the grass starts growing, we go right to
Yeah,
mowing.
That's not a bad idea.
Just that, yeah.
That's a great idea. They can't run power tools off.
Not supposed to. They can break a lot of rakes, that I do know. I've had them in the past. Yeah.
did someone reach out to the Emmy O'Brien connection and, you know, pose the dilemma and, you know, I don't know, we had $15,000 extra in my budget last night that never drew a question on park expenses. And it's all related to this, the extra 15, so I don't know, I just gotta believe it's gotta be a more logical way to do this project at this point.
We'll figure it out. We got the best team on the planet.
If they can get out there, I agree.
Okay, staffing changes and future needs. Over the past 2 years, the town has made some big strides with my staffing improvements within this department. On October 21st, or October 2021, we hired a third full-time employee who was turned out to be a huge asset to this department. His knowledge and maintenance and repairs of the grounds equipment is one of the biggest values that he's brought to the crew. Just great addition to the team. And then this year, a year later, 2022, also brought on a new one, much needed skills to the department. Not only he has the buildings and trade skills, but he brings in years of experience as a class 2 plow truck operator. And between these two, not only the town benefited in the way you described above, but also their work ethics that they bring on a day-to-day basis. And their ability to work any department throughout the town. I've heard nothing but great reviews from everyone that has had the opportunity to work with either one of them. Currently, I don't see that the department has any, whoops, currently the department has an amazing group of employees and don't see any, foreseen changes in the future.
I would
yeah,
second that.
My crew is amazing, that's what amazing.
They're great. to
They're
work with them. All right.
I think you talk to any department head, any other employee, they just, super. Yeah.
I know in the past. The council has gone around to visit departments at work. And I think we probably hit every one of them, and Dave, maybe you weren't here then, but I think most of us have. Is this something that we may want to do for Memorial Hall? Make an on-site visit, AJ could share with
You
us,
guys a tour anytime you
show
want.
us, but just to see what they've done. You know, the scope
What
of it.
they've done is pretty well covered up now.
Yeah, I can bring along some pictures.
You can talk about it.
We could,
No, and to see it, you know, see the improvements and
yeah,
the things that you've been able to take care of and what's outside. And I know you've offered tours, a lot of us have been there, but we haven't really done it from a, this is where we're putting our imprint right now.
I'm sure that AJ would absolutely, which is.
anytime.
And I guess for us, it's just to set a time up that anybody who wants to be there can be there.
It would be a good opportunity for us to show you what we've learned through historical perspective, what parts of the building we need to preserve, and the type of work that's in front of us for this redevelopment of it.
Anybody have anything else for AJ? Thank you, AJ.
Thank you.
Good job.
Very great.
Yeah, you wouldn't tell us you get all the trees taken care of.
Yes, we did,
Remember a few years ago, we talked about getting cranes and moving trees and stuff.
say there was 7 locusts we had out in Upper Cemetery that were in a really tough spot to get to, and we ended up getting the contractor to come in and took them all down. Did an amazing job, left nothing for a mess at all. He also then went from that area, went over to Upper Cemetery and took down a really large maple that's been failing over there. So they will get that all as well. We still have many more to come down that are rough, but we're trying to take them as we can. I think the worst ones.
If you got some more with a lot of rot in them.
Yeah,
Is that right?
yeah, a lot of old maple that really need to come down before they get down on their own. So it's mostly in Lakeview Cemetery.
Thank you again.
Really amazing, you could find 3 guys from Vassalboro, one to be the guys that these guys are amazing.
We had, he had to bring his crew in from Brattleboro.
I got lucky.
His crew is Vassalboro all the way, baby. Great kids,
Yeah, I did, yeah, very fortunate,
great.
but thank you.
Thank you,
Have
AJ.
a nice trip back. Thanks, AJ.
Thanks.
And you've got,
Chief Coughlin.
Chief Coughlin here.
Chief, the floor is yours.
The staples put together, we're trying to get them apart.
Be the hardest task of the night.
You didn't put those staples in right or something.
I rushed, I guess. So. Well, thank you for inviting me in to discuss the department, if you will, and answer a few questions. Not too many questions came forward to me to address tonight, but we'll address a few of those and have any other discussion that you're wishing to have. And a lot of what's happened with the fire department, as you know, is the changes in staffing. From this time last year, when it was myself and per diems, to having the 4 full-time career firefighters now. And one of the things that's kind of allowed me to do is spend my time doing, you know, more administrative things, more things with talking with and counseling, debriefing with staff. communicating with the staff, things like that. And one of the things that we do, that I do every week now, is I put out this Oakland Fire Rescue Weekly Briefing, which you all got a copy of there. That's this week's briefing. So every week that goes out to everybody on the department. And so even if someone, isn't stopping in regularly, they have some calls, or maybe they do, and just want to know what's going on, they'll have that in their email, and these over here at the station, and they're able to go in and see who's working on any given day. They can see what's going on in the Atlantic room or the Dunn room. That's really helpful for the full-time staff, because I kind of keep the calendar in my office, and so when I'm not here, they can easily check the briefing and know, oh, there's a meeting in the room tonight, so they can prepare for that if they need to, or make sure the door's unlocked, things like that, clean up afterwards. So it's pretty valuable tool for them all to have the schedule right at their fingertips versus having to find it somewhere else. We do a training section there, so it gives everybody a heads up on what's happening for training coming up in the next week, next month. Another thing that the full-time staff, they've all taken on what we call these program areas. So something they're interested in, something that they're really good at, and we've assigned them different programs, and one of them is training. And Nate Bernier happens to be the one that's taking training on. He's put together a schedule from today all the way through December, what our training topics are going to be each month. And so people can look at that. Allie helped as well. He's our EMS coordinator, so she helped with the EMS training. So that's done out. They have a schedule, shows the entire year, what's going to happen each month. Some things, as the year goes on, we do add topics in. Sometimes things get changed around based on weather or emergency calls that we may have, things like that. But it gives that roadmap throughout the year to concentrate on that training. And a lot of it is topics that we're required to cover. So just make sure that we stay on task with that. But as far as the weekly briefing, we just put on what's coming up in the next few weeks. Section there for chief's notes, and you can see different things that I put in there for just updating people on the department, things going on, things to review, and etc. EMS section there for anything to do with the EMS. And one of the things to note in this week's briefing is I put in that, we continue to have COVID exposures, believe it or not, it's still a thing. For us as EMS rescue personnel, we're going on calls and we're going into houses where 1, 2, 3, 4 people sometimes all have COVID. So, we still have to gear up, wear our PPE, N95s, decontaminate our equipment. So it does create extra work on those runs. So that was just a reminder to the staff to make sure that they are utilizing the proper personal protective equipment and their N95s, etc. So, just about weekly, I still get notifications from CDC that someone on the department that is having exposure. We have a vehicle status section there that just lets everybody know if something's out of service, what's in service. So that goes there. The section for the career personnel, just there's some notes that we need to put out to them, but it's also available for everybody on the department to see. And then usually down at the bottom, just throw a few stats, and usually it's the prior months. So like it'll run for the entire month as far as the weekly briefing, the stats pretty much stay the same. So this shows how many incidents we had in January total. I changed it up a little bit this month for this council meeting, but how many calls we had last week, and then how many calls we had total for 2022. So you can see those numbers there. The total number was 1,240 calls. One of the questions that was given to me to talk about tonight from the council was how many calls came in during different time periods. So you see there on the bottom of the briefing, this is for the year 2022, calls between 6 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon, 655, which is 52% of the calls. The next time slot that was asked of me was from 3 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and you can see there 403, which is 33%. Final time slot from that 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. 182 calls at 15%. So as you can see, we got calls coming in all times of the day. That, you know, obviously fewer of them at night, because less people are moving around, you know, you have fewer automobile accidents. You know, fewer of the service type calls where, you know, someone calls and needs help with their basement or help with their smoke detector or something like that. Those are typically not calls we're getting at 2 o'clock in the morning, daytime calls. So you're gonna have an increased number of calls during those times. Usually the emergency calls that we have overnight tend to be on the more serious side, because people are calling, you know, a lot. Believe it or not, a lot of people won't call, they'll wait. And they'll even tell us when we get there at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. They didn't want to bother us at 2. So they laid on the floor the rest of the night until the morning when they thought we'd be up and ready to respond. So, you know, that call at 2 o'clock in the morning is no less important than that call at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, as far as what our response is. Our staffing, you know, we run the per diem and the full timer and myself during the day, so there's, you know, there's a staff of 3 here. Those are our busiest hours when we have the staff here of 3. Over the years, you know, as far as staffing, we have, right now we don't, it's the first time really since I've been chief that we don't have an EMT at the police department. It's a little bit different for us as far as, you know, having them respond with us on calls as EMTs, especially over the night calls. And they had, Mike Beneke was the last one who was an EMT. And over the years, we had Nate, we had Savage, we had the part-timers, Rick and the chief were EMTs at one time, especially when I first started as chief, they helped me out a lot. Part-timers that really kind of gone by the wayside, just given how police departments respond today and the requirements and everything, but you know, they tended to have to be cross-trained fire police and had EMT licenses. So it's become even more important having that overnight coverage of having our own EMT, making sure that we have adequate response. So we have a call member that is also on call, if you will, with that full-timer overnight from home. So there's somebody that's dedicated to answer those calls so that we have at least a 2-person response. So that's how we kind of handle that. So that's a breakdown. And kind of, you know, shows you what's going out every week. This is something that Randy Marshall started when he was interim deputy chief during the COVID. Then it kind of went by the wayside because, you know, he was coming in working a set number of hours a week. And this was one of the job tasks that he was given. And you know, over time as we went away from that, as the kind of the weekly briefing kind of went away as well, and then I started it back up again in July. With it sounds. The second page that you have is one of the questions, you know, again, based on staffing and what our current staffing levels are. Take a picture of yourself through there.
No, I think I did. I shut the thing off.
So on the second page, you'll see I broke down active on call. Those would be like your on call volunteers. And that is total number of what follows. So of those 28, 15 of them are firefighter EMTs. So they're both fire and EMS. We have 2 that are just EMTs. They don't do the fire side. Then we have 5 that just do the fire side that are not EMTs. We have 4 what we call support firefighters. Those are ones that are not your interior firefighters. They may help us. They operate equipment, operate trucks. They do exterior operations on fire calls. They're just not wearing air packs. Basically, is what that is. And then we have probationary. 2 probationary. Probationary means they're brand new, and they are just starting their firefighter training. Career, they've got myself and the 4 firefighter EMTs, those are outlined next. Then we have a kind of a reserve list, if you will, of per diems. These are 3 members that work per diem shifts, but they're not counted on our active on-call roster. They live out of town. They come, they work a per diem shift, and they go back to their community. So we have 3. And then we have an auxiliary category, and that is basically the guys that have been on the department, they were on the department for 15, 20 years. They just became not real active, hard to keep up with the training. But they still wanted to be part of the department. So we kind of created this not probationary, auxiliary, where they kind of hang out there in auxiliary, if you will, for 3 years, and then we reevaluate. But it allows them to, still be part of the department. They do their annual trainings, so they're all up to date with, their Department of Labor requirements. But they don't respond to calls, and are expected to respond to calls. They participate with the association, they spread goodwill of the department. And there are also people that I can call on with some sort of, they all have specialties, they're all, they got someone I can call with a hazmat question on a chemical, or somebody that can program radios for us, things like that. So they have an added benefit to the department, so it's not like, it's not some they were pushing out the door. And it also is being used as a retention piece where, we hope we can pull them back in to being active as family statuses change, as kids get older, jobs change, things like that. So they're not people we want to lose, keep them in the loop, and in hopes that, we can get them to come back as an active call status. So that's the breakdown of the staff. And the weekly briefing, I'm sorry, I didn't, that's fine. I know I've sent that to you before, you sent an email, but yeah. So, just a few other quick points I jotted down so that.
Question before.
Oh, I'm sorry, Don, yeah.
The per diem, are they on a set rotating schedule, or is it as need be? How do you utilize those three people?
Yeah, so the per diem, I'll back up a little bit. The per diem is an 8-hour shift, 7 days a week. It's slotted for 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And members of the department that are eligible based on their training levels can sign up for shifts. And so they request shifts, and it's all done through a computer program. So they can request shifts up to 3 months in advance based on what their schedules are. So the scheduler will look at more than one person requests a shift. Their first option is awarded based on seniority. So once the schedule has been gone through and everybody that's on the active on-call roster has an opportunity to select a shift if they choose to. Once the 15th of the month hits, if you will, any open shift opens up to those additional 3. And then those additional 3 can then sign up for shifts that are still available. So our on-call.
Nate, there's somebody out there that wants to see somebody, I think. Excuse me.
I'm right up. So then that opens that up to those 3 that can then request one of those shifts, and then they get scheduled. For it. So there's not like a rotation where Dave's offering first, Bob's offering second. It's you let us know what your availability is. If more than one person requests a shift, it goes on seniority. But once that senior person has one shift, you can't grab another one until they're all filled, or until everybody's been offered. So sometimes you'll have more than the same person might work multiple shifts within a week. It's happening quite often. As time has gone on with the per diems, there's fewer of our on-call people that work them. So there's more opportunity for some of these outside guys to come in and work. The shift. So our goal is to have every one of them filled. But that doesn't always happen.
The per diem people, the 3, are ones that aren't interested in being an active on-call person. That they have just.
They're all active on-call or career firefighters somewhere else. So one's a full-time firefighter in Scarborough, one's a full-time firefighter in Clinton, lives in Albion. And one is a full-time firefighter in Waterville, who lives in Winslow. So if we had some major event in town, the page goes out to them, just like it goes out to our staff. So if they're available and wanna come respond, then we pay them as we would any other call volunteer that responds to that call. So if they're available and they're in the area, we don't turn them away if they come to help us. But as far as like being on that, counted in that 28, they're counted separately. Make sense?
Yeah.
This one.
So if I remember correctly, during the day, you have 2 firefighters. In the facility, is that true? Plus you sometimes if you're not doing this. So the other day they had a fire in Scully at Giffords. Did Oakland send assistance to?
Yes.
They did.
Yeah.
So walk me through what. In that type of call, do they call and say we need somebody to bring or we need 2 guys to bring a tanker to
Yeah.
man the station?
So when
Walk
we're,
me through one.
sure, so when we're requested, typically it's predetermined, so we kind of know the town knows what we're gonna send them. Skowhegan's a little different because they're a little further away. We're on their 3rd alarm. So we don't go to Skowhegan very often. We might go once a year, maybe some.
Are they as far away as you have?
Pretty much.
Pretty much, okay.
So when they went to that 3rd alarm, that activated us. They requested an engine and a crew. So we send, because I'm sitting back thinking they probably have all kinds of fire trucks up there. What they're really looking for is people. So, we make some decisions here locally. One, we don't want to leave ourselves vulnerable or uncovered. And we want to be able to give assistance to our mutual aid partners. So we send engine 5, one of our lumber tankers with a driver. And then we send our rescue, which is our mutual aid truck with the crew. So 3 went with the rescue, 1 went with the engine. So we sent a total of 4 in that direction. What that left here was myself and the per diem. Because I kept the per diem here. I sent them full time. And then we had on-call volunteers coming from home. Dave was in town that day. Tony, and then Owen from.
So do you still have a rescue vehicle? You sent the rescue vehicle?
Yeah.
Away, and that's the only one we have, right?
So the pickup is set up to operate EMS calls just as the rescue.
Okay.
So the rescue is sent because that has both firefighting and EMS equipment. Basically like a squad truck, if you will.
Right.
So it has our air packs, it has firefighting tools, it has what we call our RIT pack, which is the tool for firefighters to rescue firefighters. So that's all carried on the box of that truck. And it has the extended cab, which allows the crew to ride. So that's what's sent. And the other theory on that is these cold temperatures is if we're sending a fire truck to a call where it's not gonna be utilized, there's a high chance that truck's gonna freeze up or have some sort of mechanical problem in 0 or below freezing temperatures. So we utilize the rescue, which doesn't have that. So it's less wear and tear on the big trucks and pumps and things that we may now be using. Where we're sending equipment and crew. So on this Giffords call. When Dave arrived and determined that our engine was not going to be needed. We turned it around and the engine came back. So the crew of 3 stayed up there and helped with the fire. Our truck came back. That then gave me Tony, myself, and the per diem in town to cover additional calls. And
Is a possibility the reason that there was a 3rd alarm, does that strictly have to do with the extent of the fire, or is it possible that
yes.
the Norwich Water Department was busy and couldn't send somebody?
No, it's all based on what they need for assistance. So, first alarm assignment is for them, could be, Skowhegan and one additional town and some station coverage. And a second alarm brings in additional engines and crew, and a 3rd alarm brings in similar to when we had the fire on Main Street, where, our first alarm is us, Belgrade, Rome, Sydney, Smithfield. That's our first alarm for a building fire. That's automatic. So we don't necessarily yet use that alarm type system, but if you wanted to put that into the alarm system, if you will. Once we found out that, you know, we had a fire in a building on Main Street, a wooden building on Main Street. We requested Waterville, Fairfield. For Winslow for additional assistance.
Okay, thank you.
Then it goes and it adds.
Wasn't clear on
Yeah.
how all that worked.
Yeah, so then it kind of goes in tier, in steps, if you will. So we were able to send a crew to Skowhegan and maintain a crew here and handle additional calls that we had here in town. We had a car accident and first call where someone had 5 feet of water in their basement. But so we, you know, we handled additional calls, all we had to do.
Thanks.
Yes,
For the per diem, not per diem, the five, have you found that it's pretty evenly split up between those 15 people?
the per diems.
The ones who utilize, who sign up on the computer? Is it a good spread, or do you have a few that really are?
We have a few that work a lot, yes. And that's kind of happened, that's evolved over time. You know, early on, when we first started the per diem program, which some of you were on the council. You may remember we started with 8 hours, then we went to 16 hours, and then we went to 32 hours. We just kept adding until we had it every day of the week, basically. And, you know, early on, it's like we only had 16 hours, everybody, you know, wanted them, and we did have more of a rotation so that, you know, everybody could have opportunity. And then as time evolved and more shifts became available and, you know, different as, you know, even when we started the program and we had people in the department that were unemployed, that have jobs, you know, now we're at full employment for the department. Everybody in the department has a job, wants a job. So everybody that's working a per diem is doing it on the day off. You know, so it becomes, I don't want to say burden, it's not really a burden for them, but it's their day off. So we have a few that work, we have like 3 that work regularly, at least 1 shift a week. And then we have one of the, what we call the reserves out of those 3 that fills in a lot of the other shifts. You know, he sometimes works 3 shifts a week. Because but he's not taking them away from somebody else, they're maybe not going to fill. If we have somebody like a per diem call out sick, especially at the last minute, usually that day goes unfilled, because it's hard to fill that shift. You know, the day before. Sometimes we still do have shifts, the per diem shifts that are going unfilled, not a lot, but there are a few. Hope that answers that.
Yeah.
Chief, on your new staff, your 4 new ones that do your full time.
Yep.
I know when you started, you had training schedule, and some of them had some training that you wanted to get them up to at a certain date. How's everything going with that? Are you happy with how the?
Yeah,
thing is working and-
that went well. Emily was one of them. She's got her EMT license. She has her firefighter 1 and 2 certification. Adam was the other one to get his certification. He's working on that. We had a few little glitches with the state and their certification process.
Mhm.
So he's just decided that he's gonna run through the whole program again, and then he'll get his certification. So they have done and worked towards what we expect them to do. Yeah,
Very professional group, I would say.
they have been, yes. A lot of compliments, you know, they've gone out in the town, they've all visited almost every other town department. They've been to Public Works, they've been to the town office, they've been to the library, trying to get them out there to meet people and, you know, not just on emergency calls, but
Yeah.
we've had compliments there as well, how they handle themselves and how they conduct their business and the assistance that they're giving people. And, you know, they all seem very happy in their positions. They're glad to be here, they're glad to work for us, they come to work early, they hang out after their shifts. They come in on the days off. So it's, you know, that's really a good thing for morale, because, you know, one of the things that was one of my talking points was, you know, going to that, bringing in that full-time staffing as part of our model really could have changed change the culture of our department in a big way and how everybody would accept that. And, you know, those four have helped integrate the department and with the call members and the per diems and the community, but and helped that be a real smooth transition. And, you know, nobody's looking around like, you know, they're better than anybody else, or they're any more important or anything like that. Everybody's kind of on that equal playing field still. They all seem to like each other and get along.
And you own that. That you designed this, be this way. You were part of the hiring process, the pick these kids, and we've got these youth, they are incredible to work with. I come over here and there's nothing but profession. It's all because of you.
Well, it took everybody for sure. I mean, it's right all the way up through. And, if there's anything I haven't touched on here, I got my notes.
While you're looking, I'll say that during the the rabies clinic that Jan was here on, the firefighter that was on that day was very helpful. He was out helping with things there, and if anybody needed chairs or whatever out there, and I think that was Antonio,
Very helpful.
very helpful, very pleasant to talk with.
Yeah, and yeah, he's a really nice kid and a really smart guy. He actually was just recently appointed the fire chief in Searsport, which is down near where he lives. And so he's got a nice project he's working on down there. Smart kid, part-time, probably like being the fire chief and sitting here about grade or, you know, a volunteer paid stipend position. And he's excited about that. And we kind of, we kind of joked a little bit that we're not sure of this, but, you know, Oakland might have more chiefs than other departments on our department than any department in the state. I'm not sure. We got Chief Groder, we got Deputy Chief Johnston, we got Dave Savage, we got Antonio. It's like, I don't know if anybody's keeping track, but we certainly have our.
That must be tough.
We must have our fair share. I'm getting critiqued all the time, in all these different directions. But just a couple
Makes
of,
us all better, trust me. on that.
yeah, it does. We do,
Five guys talking to each other.
yeah, we're bouncing a lot of stuff,
Experiences we have.
bouncing a lot of stuff off each other.
Taxpayers have often benefit.
Making decisions as a group, and it's really paying off. And just real quick, a couple of things I wanted to mention there's, you know, with the full-time staffing, obviously, it's allowed us to get equipment out of the station quicker. It's allowed, some of the active on-call volunteers that used to have to think about coming down here and grabbing a piece of apparatus, then going to the call. You know, they're able to go direct to give us a size up. Either start to mitigate or at least get ready, so when the truck arrives, they're ready to go and go to work. We've had a couple, 2 or 3 recently vehicle fires that have been with exposures that if we'd added 5 minutes to our response time, the vehicle fire would have been a garage fire. Vehicle fire would have been multiple vehicles on fire. So, you know, it's hard to put a number on that, but you know, that's being done kind of. Just never hear about it. All you hear about it, all you see in the newspaper is big fire, you know, the fire department did a great job, there's nothing left. It's all the other things that we do that we really do a good job on that's not in the mainstream. And I'm sure Dave can attest to that too. And as some of you have seen already, and we'll talk about it when the budget comes up, but you know, I pulled out of the budget some call wages to help balance out the budget. And you know what I've kind of seen over the last 6 months as the full-time staffing has been here is that we might have we have a little less response of the volunteers on some of the minor calls that can be handled with the staffing that we have here at the station, or if they're on the outskirts of town, they're not necessarily rushing into town to help out, just whatever it is that's being handled. So we're seeing that. The call wages are down a little bit, so that's why I feel that, you know, we can kind of give that back to help with the budget. You know, over time, I'd like to kind of build those accounts up so we can shift money around and you know, be able to add staffing at some point down the road. There's always going to be a need for staffing, but that's something that I think we're able to do now and safely work that into our budget. And examples of those type of calls would be something like a flooded basement or. Something that. Even some of the EMS calls where, it's a low level. EMS call that we may not need 5 people at. The 2 people here at the station, they know that's being handled, so Randy Marshall Jr. that's working at the airport, he's at his work. He knows that call is being handled, there's 3 people here during the day now, where previously you might have thought, well, I probably should go help because the chief's there by himself. So. Calls like that, the more serious calls, we're still getting, getting really good response. By volunteers, but it's more of those. More minor calls in nature that we're able to handle. In-house with in-house staff. So. And the only other thing I think that was put on my sheet there was about future needs. We're gonna be looking at a replacement for our engine 5, which is 30 years old. We'll talk about that more in budget, but just be ready for sticker shock. Some maintenance over at Station 2, which, AJ's working on in his spare time, but, there's always things over there that's kind of out of sight, out of mind, and, we just want to make sure that we kind of keep that up to par as well. Continuing to monitor the Delta and ambulance situation. Wish I had a crystal ball, I don't, but, we just need to continue to monitor that and be able to make decisions as we need to. With that being said, as we move forward in the next few years, we may have to look at additional EMS equipment, depending on how that Delta equation works out and what we see for response times and things like that. So, and then the last thing was just, always keeping an eye, monitoring, and that's what I do with the staffing levels and knowing that we're going to be able to respond and mitigate whatever we have for an emergency and be able to handle not only our town, but be able to aid our neighboring communities and still be able to cover our town as well. So staffing is something that I'm always looking at.
Anything else? Go ahead.
Nothing to do really with the fire department, but I'm sure you've gotten involved. How many broken pipes calls did you get this weekend? Did you get a bunch?
No, we didn't. We lucked out on that one. A lot of departments did, but the only one we had really was that. First, the guy that had the 5 feet of water in his basement, and that was the water line froze, and then crack coming into the house.
And then related to it, I'm not encouraging this, you see it on the TV, or we saw it on the TV all weekend, how in Augusta, they're gonna open up the library and the Salvation Army building for warming shelters. We don't have a population, I don't think, that required that. Did you get any calls as to whether we have a facility where people? can
There
go?
was an inquiry about whether we were gonna do something, and it was quite a few days in advance, and I talked to L.I. and correspondence, I don't know if I talked to her directly, in that, we were monitoring the situation, monitoring it, that it was gonna be a regional center open at the Augusta Civic Center was the only thing at that time. As time went on, there were a few others, there was the school in Winslow and a few other things around. But, as we kind of did our, tour around town, we didn't really see anyone that was out in the elements. And, the fire station is always an open, welcoming place. If someone had to come in, obviously we're gonna let them in. My big concern was whether we were gonna have power outages. And, if power outages had become more of a concern, then we probably would have looked at something more than the regional. We're gonna try to, do something locally. The other thing that we looked at was the longevity. So, if this had gone on for a week, and then, like you said, people have frozen pipes, and people that, even though they have homes, they might have been getting frozen out of their own homes. So we were monitoring, we were open to the possibility, but nothing, came right up to us that we needed to do something right here in Oakland. So
What would you, and again, this is just, ran over in my mind. I said, if we had people who, like you said, if it was 4 days in a row.
Yeah.
And their houses were freezing and they couldn't stay there. You know, and they called, where would we put them? And you think
Well,
about the school gyms, you think about the fire station,
Yeah.
move a truck out, put cots in, whatever.
Basically, all we would be able to offer is a warming shelter. We wouldn't really be able to offer the cots and overnight in a larger situation. They have to go to a regional location for that. Here, what we'd be able to do, we've done it before, we did it 2 winters ago, when we had power outages that went on for, winter storm, power outages went on for 5 days or more. And we actually used the Cascade Room as a warming center, charging center, where people would come in, charge their phones, get warm. Freshen up in the bathroom, that type of thing. We didn't offer shower facilities, just a place to get warm. Not a lot of traffic through that, if you will. We chose the police department at the time because they had someone in the building all the time, whereas here, it was, I think we were just moving in and, or shortly after we moved in, it would have been hard to coordinate that without somebody in the building. So we could use either the Cascade Room or this room, and it would be warming, charging type of facility, not necessarily your cots and a place to sleep. We have to work regionally with that, through the county and area communities.
What was the regional? What, was there a warming shelter in Augusta?
Yes,
Civic Center.
Civic Center, yeah, they opened the Civic Center, that was.
And we would have sent people there.
If something came up that somehow we had to transport people, the school department is usually very accommodating to help us with. Would be accommodating to help us as part of our emergency plan, if you will, that they would. Try to help us with any type of transportation that we might need, but, it just, the makeup of our community, we're not, the police aren't coming in saying, we have a known compound here or there, or, I had a concern of the mill down here. Where it hasn't been plowed and it looked like there was people driving down there, but it didn't look like much foot traffic, other people, there could be squatters down there. So, we kind of arranged for that to at least be plowed so that we could drive down there and take a quick look, and I didn't see anything.
The buildings are for sale, so the real estate people's driving up and down. Really?
Is that what it is, real estate people?
Yeah.
But from us, from an emergency standpoint, looking out for the community, it's like, we'd like to see that plowed. They're probably thinking if it's not plowed, at least they know who's been down there. But for us, I mean, even since the major mill fire, I mean, we've had fires down, we've had fires in the old boiler house, we've had multiple fires in the Butler building. And typically it's campfires, or whether it's kids or people trying to stay warm, we don't know, but it's something that emergency managers try to keep an eye on. Just, for situations like that, but also if we had to get equipment down there for a fire, we wouldn't have been able to. That's.
Anything else? Thank you, chief.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. It's always nice to go by here and see the lights are on and know somebody's home.
A lot of people have mentioned that.
It's excellent presentation. You did a very thorough job. Appreciate that.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
And like Jim Heatley said, it was a great idea to put on a full-time staff, chief. Spirit of America, the next thing on the agenda.
Okay, so I sent this out to you, and I've gotten a response back from Dave already on it. He's made his choice. So if I could just get a vote 1, 2, and 3, or all 3, or 1 and 2, or whatever, I would take that and go with it. Without saying any names.
You've done yours, Dave?
I did, yeah.
Bob?
I did not. Can we know what number, Dave?
I picked number 1.
For one. Number 2, I'm not so sure about. Number 3 is certainly going to be due some recognition, but maybe not this year. So I kind of like one as well.
The Spirit of America Foundation, you can do as many as you want. We're not limited to 1, 2, or 3. We can do groups of people, or we can do more, more than one. We're not. And I guess my only comment is, doing one a year, we have a lot of people in Oakland that volunteer for stuff. And we're never gonna get them all if we do one at a time, I think, so I don't know.
Maybe we should expand the list then. I mean, these are the only 3 names that
Yeah.
popped up.
And that's,
We have trouble popping up names.
I'm running out of time, because I gotta get this in.
No, I don't think that's what he's saying. I think to just say all 3 of these, because we've got a list of 3, there might be other ones out. Do we do 2? Do we do 1? I don't like the idea of doing all 3 just because we've got 3. How to pick 1 or 2? I would say 1 and 3 would be my top 2. But I don't know if we want to go with 2. And everybody in the audience is going, what the heck are they talking about? 1 and 2?
It's just.
I mean, I don't mind number 3, but in a year, there'll be changes to the area, and that would be more of a, that's a big thank you, not just.
That was my thought exactly.
And I think 1 would be
I don't have
different.
a strong feeling about number 2.
That number.
I think it was a
number one,
quote.
I think the uniqueness of it.
Yeah.
Is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
do we have a quorum on number 1? Dave, Bob,
I do.
number 1, I guess.
number 1 it is.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
I have the same question on number 2. I know, he does some things and, whether this would help him with his company, that they could do more, I don't know,
I think it was,
it's part of his job, what he does.
I think it may have been more company than individual.
Yeah,
I agree.
okay. Town meeting, you want,
Town meeting, so we learned yesterday or today?
No, we really got confirmation today.
Today that we do not have access to the PAC for a town meeting this year. And the reason is they have a new director up there who had accidentally booked it for a dance recital. So we're all these years, we're now looking for a new home just for this 1 year. They've offered up the middle school, which I guess they have a large lunchroom, which none of this is working for me, to be honest with you, because we've gotten accustomed to having it at our home. And so Jan and I talked about the fire station, but I really don't think that this room is large enough to accommodate 90 to 120 people. I don't think that we can get all of it. The option that they offered was, like I said, the lunchroom at the middle school, and Kelly Payne said it's huge. They can get elevated seating for us. It's gonna be different. So I wanted to throw it out there to you. And if somebody had an epiphany of saying, oh yeah, what about this place, then we'd love to look at it. But what this is gonna create is a change. You're gonna have people showing up at the PAC, they're gonna do it. We're not gonna be.
we're gonna have to do some advertising about it.
So the date is set in our charter.
Yeah.
Is the time set?
No. Just the date. That.
That's a Tuesday though,
Mhm.
and those recitals usually go till late at night. My daughters have all been doing them and they're 10.
I was thinking about doing it earlier, but if you did it earlier at like 4 o'clock that day, then you'd lose people that work. Yeah.
And we can assume that this recital isn't from the Oakland Dance Studio.
I didn't.
Because they usually do the Opera House.
I called the superintendent out. I mean, I was certainly upset about this when I learned this. And normally I set that appointment first week of March, but Jan decided she would try to get it done now because she's been getting a lot of this stuff done. She came in and told me about it, so I called the superintendent out. He ended up looking into it because really there's not much we can do, and he was apologetic on it. It just new director that didn't get left a calendar. 3 books, and so it was a mistake.
But I guess the question is there any wiggle room for the dance studio to change it from a Tuesday to a Wednesday?
No, because it's
No.
a recital.
No, this is dance, rehearsal that they're gonna be having on Tuesday. And just like Ella said, the gentleman was really apologetic. They've had 2 changeovers since Superino left, and he wasn't left anything. So, I mean, he's got 3 days, I believe, of stuff going on, one after another. So there's no wiggle.
We tried that one.
Yeah.
What about a church?
Quite a few years ago, there was a
A
sizable meeting we were gonna have, and we had it in the gym at the Williams School. I don't remember what the meeting was now, it was, quite a few years ago, Dan, they had chairs set up.
But that was when we did the presentation on the police department. Is that it?
No, that was in the lunchroom at the Williams School. This was in the gymnasium, and I'm not sure if it was,
I don't really think, Ella, when you think about it, what would be the difference between having it like there or at the
Well,
elementary?
Bob just mentioned the Kingdom Light Church up on the hill.
And, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we don't want the building to fall down.
That was my
Right, they will let me in. So. All right,
I
so
think we just need to try to get a feel for it, because
Yeah.
it goes in our warrant.
let
and-
me talk to Carol tomorrow. Are you guys okay with the middle school? I go up, check it, maybe Jan, you and I can go up, take a look at it tomorrow.
We have met in there before.
Oh, you're off tomorrow, but maybe
No,
Friday.
no.
I would delegate that to you guys, whatever is the most comfortable.
I can't remember what the meeting was, but we had a big crowd at the Williams gym. And they had a lot of chairs set up.
The
It
good
was
thing
years
about,
ago,
the good thing about going to the middle school is that it's a cafeteria, but it's very large. So you wouldn't be messing up their floors as far as gymnasiums and.
that's where they have their routine school committee meetings, that's in the cafeteria at the middle school, a lot of them.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've been there when they've had us there for different things too.
So we'll look at it when you're working next and we'll lock it in. Girls expecting to hear from me.
And we'll have a better view of all the kids playing ball outside, because that's why the parents can't come, because the kids are sporting.
Do you have anything else, Tom?
That's all I have.
Dave? Also. Also. Jan, did you have anything else?
No,
Good. And I don't. I make a motion, we adjourn.
I second the motion.
All those in favor? Thank you.
thank you for fixing the clock. I appreciate it.